Nos svenu meden olos ulupu prosoligones titozen totelos o Chronos apeti.
This is the epitaph of Seikilos, an ancient Greek song dating to the 1st century AD. It's one of the oldest surviving pieces of music. It contains advice on living in the present moment, with the limited time that we have on Earth. I've been exploring how early human cultures understood time, and how the first civilisations created methods of communicating this phenomenon. A phenomenon that even today we know frighteningly little about. From misplaced fears about the Mayan calendar to why North Korea is currently stuck in the year 111. If you've ever wondered where our version of time comes from, you're in the right place as we explore the myth of time. For most of human history, there has been one very basic way of telling the time, the day. Judging on where that floating orb of warmth is, or isn't, you have a rough idea of what time it is. But aside from a steady cycle of seasons, there's not much to go on. There is some evidence of the first timekeepers from our distant past. This is the Ishango bone. It was discovered by a team of archaeologists in the Congo, Central Africa. On closer inspection, they noticed that the bone was covered in tiny notches. These markings didn't seem to be placed at random. They were arranged into 3 columns and were sorted into what looked like a tally chart. What's more, 2 of the columns added up to the same number, 60. At 20,000 years old, many believe that the Ishango bone is the oldest calendar in human history. Perhaps it was used to record different phases of the moon, or to track a menstrual cycle or pregnancy. But then again, others say that they're reading into it a bit too much. It could also be a bone with a bunch of scratches, and nothing more. Either way, it's left to us to speculate. If it is a rudimentary calendar, it's one of the earliest attempts at recording the flow of time. Some of the first recognisable calendars come from Mesopotamia, roughly 4,000 years ago. When these people looked up at the night sky, they saw more than just twinkling lights. They saw data. They recorded the moon's phases, a cycle of waxing and waning over 30 days. They noted that at various seasons, the moon was in different places in the sky. Tracking its movements, they devised the world's first lunar calendar, a 12-month year synced up to the orbit and rotation of the moon. With a system of time in place, they knew when to farm and when to perform rituals to the gods. Like Inanna, the goddess of love and warfare, you can see her in the night sky most mornings, shining brightest as she descends below the horizon. You'll probably know her better as the planet Venus, the morning star. The ancient Mesopotamians were some of the first to join groups of stars into constellations, giving them names like the Bull of Heaven, the Goat Fish, and the Great Twins. Today we call these Taurus, Capricorn, and Gemini. They are part of a larger group of star signs that the Greeks called little animals, or zodiac. Whilst these early calendars were built around the moon, other cultures experimented with its counterpart, the sun. The emerging civilization of ancient Egypt has always been blessed with the Nile's regular annual flooding. They called it the Akhet, where the river rhythmically exceeds its banks, replenishing the soil with nutrients. The Egyptians noticed that whenever this happened, the star Sirius was in the same place in the sky, just above the sun at dawn. They figured out that if you counted the days until this pattern repeated itself, it would arrive at the number 365. They created a solar calendar consisting of 365 days, with annual events synced to the seasons. They worshipped the sun as a god, Ra, as he strode across the sky on his sun barge. They built obelisks in his name, like the great monument of Heliopolis, the city of the sun. The work of these Egyptian stargazers would be confirmed thousands of years later when astronomers learnt that the planet Earth indeed takes 365 days to orbit the Sun, although technically it's 365.25 days. We tend to ignore that 0.25, but that's a quarter of the day, 6 hours. In 4 years, you're a day out of sync. If you wait 120 years, you're a month out of sync. To account for this discrepancy, the Egyptians added an extra month every now and then to make up for lost time. In our calendar today, we include a leap year, an extra day every 4th year. These early lunar and solar calendars are only 2 examples. Across the world, cultures were able to make similar observations with the same startling accuracy. Ancient China had a combination of the two with their lunar-solar calendar, featuring their own unique menagerie of zodiac animals. Vedic India used their calendar to calculate the lifespans of various gods. For example, a single day for the god Brahma is equal to 4.32 billion human years. But that's nothing on the god Vishnu. In the time it takes for him to complete a single breath, a lifespan of Brahma passes. In other words, that's 311.04 trillion years, the longest single breath in mythological history. In time, these calendars changed the way people saw themselves. You can now say how many years you've been alive for, or in which king's reign your parent was born. One of the earliest historians was a Greek writer called Herodotus. He travelled around the known world and wrote down all the stories he was told, real or fictional. There is one event which we know actually took place, even down to the very date and time. It was a battle between the Greek Lydians and Persian Medes, which was interrupted by a very strange phenomenon. He writes, "Just as the battle was growing warm, the day was of a sudden changed into night. The Medes and Lydians, when they observed the change, ceased fighting, and were alike anxious to have terms of peace agreed upon." What he had just described was a solar eclipse, when the moon passes in front of the sun. Since the movement of the sun and moon are predictable, this battle would have occurred on the 28th of May, 585 BC, making this the first real date in history. Once again, the sun and moon come together to help tell the time. For the ancient Greeks, history was infused with a healthy dose of mythology. Inhabiting times past are heroic warriors, capricious gods, and the ordinary people caught in between. To the Greeks, even time was a person. The concept was embodied in the titan Chronos, the father of Zeus, a cruel tyrant who had a penchant for eating his own children. Although he was later imprisoned by Zeus and the Olympian gods, he lives on in time-based words like chronology and synchronized. Another culture fascinated with the mythology of time were the Maya of Central America. They were prolific astronomers and used 3 different calendars, each with a specific purpose. From the Hab, a 365-day solar calendar for everyday goings-on, the Tzolk'in, a 260-day calendar for ritual events, and the Long Count, which stretches way back into mythical history. According to the Long Count, this era of creation started on 4 Ahau, 8 Kumku. To you and me, that's Monday, August the 11th, 3114 BC. On this day, the god Tepiu and the feathered serpent Gukumats created the land, sea and sky using their thoughts alone, and made the first humans out of maize. Later, 2 heroic twins defeat the demon lord Xibalba and bring order to the universe. Contrary to popular belief, the Mayan calendar does not predict the end of the world. There was mass panic that the 21st of December was going to be Doomsday. Of course, it wasn't. This date in the Mayan calendar marked the conclusion of the current era, or Baktun, a unit of time that occurs every 400 years or so. Instead of a global apocalypse in 2012, the world continued as normal, much like it had when the year 1999 rolled on to the year 2000. Speaking of, this brings us to the calendar we are using today. Our calendar is an adapted version of the one used by the Romans. It was tweaked by Pope Gregory in 1582 to include leap years, hence the name, the Gregorian calendar. This calendar counts the years elapsed since the birth of Jesus. This practice started in the 6th century, where Christian monks concluded that Jesus was probably born 754 years after the founding of Rome. They refer to this date as the first year of our Lord, or 1 Anno Domini, 1 AD. Religious historians are nowadays doubtful that Jesus was actually born in that year. Instead, they suspect he was born in 4 BC to coincide with the reign of King Herod, who features heavily in the Nativity story. Another religious calendar you might not have heard of is Anno Mundi, in the year of our world. This counts back to the creation of Earth in the book of Genesis, which allegedly took place on the 6th of October 3761 BC. It's a precise date for the beginning of the universe, but I'm not sure scientists would agree with those numbers. To this day, the Gregorian calendar is used pretty much everywhere. The exception is North Korea, whose Juche calendar counts on the birth of its first supreme leader, Kim Il-sung. Like the Gregorian calendar, North Korea's calendar starts with a miraculous birth. The story goes that the day Kim Il-sung was born, a bright star appeared in the sky. It was accompanied by singing, heralding the arrival of the auspicious baby. This date is known as Juche 1, the same day, coincidentally, as the sinking of the Titanic. As the world has become increasingly secular, many feel that using a Christian calendar is no longer appropriate, especially as 2/3 of the world are not even Christian. Some have tried to introduce the Holocene calendar, a universal calendar marking the rise of modern humans. They fix this date to the end of the last ice age, around 10,000 BC, so they simply add 10,000 onto our current year. It's a nice idea, but a bit of a mouthful, and I guess all you're doing is adding 10,000 onto a religious calendar. Whilst our way of counting years is a relic of medieval Christianity, it's a convention we all use and can agree on. It helps our global society stay organised. And isn't that the point of a calendar in the first place? There is so much more to be said about time, from the history of clockmaking, to the astronomers who pioneered Greenwich Mean Time, to later minds like Einstein, who proposed his theory of special relativity, getting us closer to figuring out what time actually is. These developments would not have been possible without the work of ancient astronomers, who harnessed the power of the sun, moon and stars, and created the first systems of timekeeping. As well as these calendars being achievements in mathematics and astronomy, they are also full of stories and rich in mythology. These myths live on in today's timekeeping. Our years are based on the biblical nativity story. Our months come from imperial Rome, with July and August named after Julius Caesar and Augustus. And our weekdays are named after the Norse gods. Thursday is the day of Thor, Friday is the day of Freya. To this day, the invention of time remains one of humanity's longest lasting achievements. These marvellous creations, rich in mythology, give us a sense of not only when we are, but who we are as well. Hey, thanks for watching. I've always been fascinated with time and the mythology that comes with it. Not only the past, but also the future. You might like an earlier video of mine, Past Predictions of the Future, where I explore what the word futuristic has meant to different generations. If you like this video and want to see more, why not subscribe? A like and a comment also go a really long way. Anyway, I look forward to seeing you next time. Goodbye.